Do you feel compelled to take a side without having enough clear information? Are you despairing about the hatred and violence in the world today? Did you know that you can wait a minute and create something new for yourself and for the world?
Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Hello, welcome to Angelscapes, and I am your host, Nancy Smith. I am your guide to living a soul-powered life. And boy, don't we need some soul-powered living right now. So join me in this episode for a discussion about how words can do as much damage as bullets. Let's talk about how to step back from the compulsive hatred and create detached compassion to quiet your heart. Within your quiet heart, you can allow new choices, new perspectives, and new directions to emerge. Resist, but don't hate. Ascend, don't descend. So I'm going to talk to you about something that has been weighing on my mind and many people's minds and hearts about some of the words being shared right now, some of the actions being taken right now, and some of the things that have been leading to violence everywhere. So don't think for a minute that I am taking a side, because what I'm doing is talking about what's happening now and a spiritual pathway to stay healthy, heart healthy, and connected to your spirit and to your soul. This stuff that's going on is just spirit sucking. It's soul sucking. And not all of us know what to do with it. And sometimes we got a handle on it, and then other times we don't have a handle on it at all. And we need to deal with this. And taking sides doesn't necessarily bring peace into our lives or bring peace into our community, although there are some things that need to be said, and then resistance is sometimes important, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk to you about some of my ideas around that. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I have been working really hard to come up with some thought processes, some philosophies, and a different kind of connection to this problem through the eyes of the soul, through the eyes of spirit. I know I'm a minister and I try to do minister things and stuff, and I think that there are some amazing leaders out there in the world right now that are ministerial based, they're spirit based, and we need to listen to them. We need to consider what they're saying. And we need to let ourselves take a stand when it's time to take a stand. But to take a stand through the drama of hate is only going to make you sick. It's going to cause despair and bring you to a place that maybe you can't get out of. So I heard a talk that started with the words, well, actually, it was a really interesting talk, but it was kind of convoluted and difficult to understand. So let me just say, words can cause as much damage as bullets, and I would guess that a lot of you would agree with that. But there's a difference between the damage a bullet does and the damage words do. So I'm not advocating for physical violence that will end somebody's life, and I think it's not just bullets that end people's lives. And I'm just going to leave it right there. Words sway people towards making decisions, to their thought process. It can sway them to gossiping about something that may not be true. It can sway them to be racist towards a person that's different from them. It can be hateful, divisive rhetoric that minimizes people. taking the dignity away from marginalized parts of our society, name calling to dehumanize the less fortunate, propaganda, calling fiction facts and expecting us to believe it, or, or taking the facts and stretching them a little bit to insert a decision. Those are powerful words. And persuasive misinformation that can sometimes lead to violence. Words can lead to gun violence, and there are many other forms of violence. So I'm not talking just about guns. But we seem to focus on the guns because I guess they kill the fastest. I'm not sure I agree with that. But right now they're the biggest, scariest weapon that's out there. But there's lots of weapons out there, guys. Some people will condemn the types of speech that I just talked about. But free speech is a right in this country, and we're very proud of that. We have a right to express our thoughts and our philosophies. The right to free speech often doesn't come with the epitome of responsibility. And I think that right now in the world I'm looking at, some of the world leaders have forgotten that part of free speech, which is the importance of responsibility. Freedom comes with responsibility. So when I was going through my divorce, I had two of them, so the first one, my lawyer told me it's not illegal to be a jerk and say mean things, even though the words were threatening and they were frightening. We couldn't litigate against that. You gotta learn to deal with the bad words. And that wasn't easy for me. And I did not do well with that, but that was the law. So I kind of went back to, well, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's not true. It's not true at all. So we need to come up with some strategies on how to deal with these words. Getting over the words is kind of partly not letting ourselves go into the despair or into violent hate. Referring back to my divorce, the words that came at me, I had to not listen to them. I can't hear you, or ignore them, or pay attention to what was important and forget the rest. And I had to not take them personally. And I feel like that has been the biggest challenge in my life, is not to take personally what people tell me, because what's coming out of somebody's mouth doesn't mean it's the truth. And I can tell you what, looking on social media, listening to the news, listening to people's opinion are not facts. And if they ask me to believe something or do something or agree with them, I don't have to do that. And chances are, I'm just saying, give me a minute. Let me think about it. I'll get back to you on that. I am making it a habit of not agreeing with people. As much as I try to be an agreeable person, this is not the time to be 100% agreeable. And I'll get into a strategy of how those of you who want to be agreeable, what you can do to manage that. So my childhood in Detroit, the murder capital of the world, let me think, it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, race riots, hate speech, manipulating people through money and economics. And I ended up with many classmates in high school whose siblings and family members had been shot to death or killed in different race riots or racial struggles. And they were post-traumatic stress disorder all over the place before they even coined the phrase post-traumatic stress disorder. I knew at that point what a gunshot sounded like. And I knew when to duck and run. And I knew how to walk the streets of Detroit. And I knew the rule was you always stay aware. You walked quickly, with purpose, and you are always looking around you to say, I know where I am. Do you know where you are? Because don't get in my face, kind of talk, street walk. I saw a burning cross when I was a little kid. I heard a tremendous amount of hate speeches. In my neighborhood, there was this thing called blockbusting. We were living in what's called a Catholic ghetto, where we were all these neighborhood that surrounded Christ the King Catholic Church. And one family of color moved in, and so the real estate brokers started calling all of the families, the white families, in their houses, got their phone numbers, and started to say, your neighborhood is falling apart. Sell your house now. Now, these real estate brokers made a lot of money doing this. And it also, as people panicked and moved out, the value of the houses dropped. Now I've gone back to that neighborhood. My parents stayed. They weren't going to let this fool them at all, and but they did eventually move after the blockbusting. But in the churches, we had big meetings about blockbusting. Don't believe what these realtors have to say. They're just fear mongers. They're trying to get hate going, and so as a neighborhood, we tried to stick together, and we invited and welcomed in the people of color into our neighborhood. It was amazing to watch this. It was a huge life lesson, and I take that life lesson with me even as I speak today. The fear and the anger. I had there was a woman in my neighborhood, well, young woman. She was a babysitter. Everyone loved her. She was the best babysitter ever, and she, I think, became a teacher. She went to college, and then she met somebody, got married, and they moved not that far from where I was living, not even a mile. And there were these duplexes, and they had beautiful big picture windows that you could look through, and you know, you had to put curtains up. But she married a person of color, and she was white. And just within months of them moving in and newlyweds, somebody did a drive-by. Those drive-bys are very famous in Detroit, and shot and killed both of them because it was a racial murder, and it was horrible. And lots of words, lots of talking, lots of counseling, lots of trying to figure out, why is there so much hate around us? So why am I telling this story? Because what we're seeing around us is not new. This hatred, this crazy stuff going on is as old as humanity is. And we need to do something about that. But what we need to do, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that going forward, because I want to talk about strategies, spiritual strategies of how to change thought processes. And the people that I was around as I was growing up were amazing people who were thought changers. They were thought process, identifying the thoughts that were going on, identifying the actions that were being taken because of the prejudice, because of the hate speech, and standing against it. Now, as I grew up, also, it was busing in Detroit. And there was a lot of anger around the busing. And it was funny because I was already busing myself down to a technical school in downtown Detroit. And so my high school was 70% color and the rest white. And I never knew which world that I belonged to. And I didn't care. I just wanted to make friends. And I was really lucky to have had those thought processes, those change makers who are well, they were in the church. I was, that came up from my spiritual background in the Catholic Church. So not all Catholics things are bad, but I walked into this high school situation with an open mind and an open heart, not a black and white mind and heart. And that's what I'm trying to talk to you about that today. So I'm a spiritualist. So the principles of spiritualism talks about our own happiness. Our unhappiness is kind of revolves around how we follow the natural laws of the universe. So there's some metaphysical thinking in there about how to relate to the world around you from a spiritual point of view, be in the world but not of it, kind of thing. I feel in this situation, in all situations, and how we live our lives, is about knowing source, knowing where the creative source comes, which is divine unconditional love, and knowing that our soul is connected to that, and our soul is connected to our spirit and to how we live our lives, and that is the flow of life. That is where we belong. We don't necessarily belong in somebody else's whirlpool of hatred or decision, our decisions do not belong to our friends and our family. They belong to us and how we feel about our lives and how we feel about our lives. If it can come from that flow of life from source, I'm not saying join a church or anything like that, but no, join your own self, join your own heart. Your heart leads to your spirit, which leads to your soul. And like I said, if you take a minute, you can create a new choice for yourself. You can go to a place that is not in alignment with somebody else's fears, fear mongering, or hate speech or anything. It's aligned with yourself, and you may look neutral to others, and you may get criticized, or you may blah blah blah. But if you're good with you, and you're calm, and your heart is quiet and at peace, you can withstand the hurricane around you. Now, going in back into the race riots, I have this story from the Father Tim. I loved him. Talked to his mother, lived in the inner city of Detroit, and things shifted color wise. I'm sure it's a different color even today. And we are rainbow people. So if we have one color, you're part of the rainbow, not the whole thing. And people are saying, leave your home, this isn't safe, come live with me. She said, no, I'm not leaving my home. And she had a pretty big shotgun. There was no moss growing on this woman. And she got on her front porch, sat on her chair with the shotgun across her lap. She loved her neighbors, and the neighbors loved her. And she said, I'm not leaving. You're not scaring me. And I'm going to protect my home because this is where I live and this is where I love. And I love my neighbors and I love my neighborhood. And no one bugged her. No one came near her. Not one window was shot out. Nothing happened to her or around her. And her calmness and her determination was the center of the hurricane, was the calm eye of the hurricane. And I want to invite you guys into that eye of the hurricane, that calm center. We can't control what's going on around us. I wish we could. I wish I could say some magic words that would bring all the Palestinians home and give them food to eat, or in all of the other struggles in Ukraine and Russia. It's driving me, it's breaking my heart. Can I control it? I can pray for it. And can I control the hate speeches that are going on in this country? No, but I can pray for it. And I want to talk to you about a concept of, it's kind of a shamanic concept about dreams. We're living a dream and we can change the dream. And how we change the dream is through prayer and through visualization. Just like Father Tom's mother sat on her porch and said, there is peace here. We can sit on our front porch or stand strong within our hearts and say, there is peace within here. And we can dream that this peace will prevail elsewhere in this world as we listen to people spew racism, minimalizations. We can picture another picture as we say our prayer and ask for help. Let's create a new world. And this is what I'm also inviting you into. The world that other people have created isn't the world that you want to create. Create something different within yourself and within your thought process and within the choices that you make. I want to kind of talk a little bit more, go back to the kinds of words that I'm talking about. Suppose we continue on the path of sowing seeds of discourse, division, discrimination, dismissiveness, destructive behavior, racism, sexism, xenophobia. If we stick to that, or we become quiet and just like, well, this is what they're doing right now, in that case, cause and effect, we will reap what we sow. The metaphysical law of cause and effect is, you see it happening all the time. You stick your finger in a flame, your finger's going to get burnt, and what we think and what we do will bring back to us what we're creating. So I think that we can all create, and I've seen it happen over and over again, something different than the hate and the craziness that's going on. As soon as you see it, you can start to relate to it, hate it, argue with it, point by point. But when we hate something and when we're standing in defense of ourselves and arguing against the other opposite side of what we're thinking about, where the opposite side now owns us. We're now trapped in that polarity. And what I'm asking you to is to step outside of the polarity, not get trapped into it. That's why resist, but don't hate. Don't agree with what they're creating. Walk away from it. Turn your back to it. Turn your cheek and say, this isn't. We'll talk about some strategies in a minute. I'm not going to lay you down on this. I'm just throwing out opinions, but I'm going to also help you walk through some thinking. So words can lead to violence at times. So when we hear the words and how we take them in, it is up to us to not let them turn into violence. But we also can't necessarily, and I'll come back to this example a few times, and I'm not taking sides, but it's a clear example. When I woke up, I guess it was over the weekend, somebody texted me, said, are you okay? And right near my house, there was a shootout. There was a mass shooting again. And I kind of got a little bit shook it up. And it was the person who was coming in with the gun and killed the person and wounded some other people, was saying some political nonsense. And I'm sure he had a good point, but shooting people have nothing to do with the political nonsense, isn't going to solve anything. Now, having said that, there has been a lot of mass shootings, or a lot of, I don't even want to say mass shootings, just shootings in general. We've seen political people, political violence happen, and the most recent one, of course, is Charlie Kirk. And there was an unusual, to me, I was very struck with the fact that he was talking about violence with, I think, the transsexual community. I don't know. He was just going on and on about something, and then all of a sudden he was shot and killed. And the person who shot and killed him, according to the news that I've read, which I'm trying to trust, I think I can trust it, or it's the best we have, was somebody who was in love with or in a relationship with a roommate who was transsexual. And he was full of despair. I have to stop this. I have to stop this. This isn't right. So that was, to me, an amazing example of cause and effect. What you sow is what you reap. However, to say that his words caused this shooting it simplifies it too much. And I want to talk about everyone's responsibility around the hate speech and our reaction to it, and what is happening because of the hate speech. So detached compassion is about not being drawn in. If you are a person, or you know of people who cannot detach from a negative pull, they need help. They need to be heard. They need to be recognized. And we need to speak up. We need to say, I see you. I see your suffering. We need to not ignore. And we need to pray. Prayer is amazing. And I like to think that we could all come together and pray for those in despair that cannot detach from the craziness going on and are getting like a washing machine, getting cycled around in it until they do something that they can't go back from. I also like to encourage you guys to listen to the words of peacekeeping leaders who, like Martin Luther King or Gandhi, or all throughout the decades, all throughout the centuries, that have talked about bringing peace in our hearts and bringing calm in our hearts, and how violence is not new, and how what the different choices that we can make. Mr. Rogers, I love this. I watch Mr. Rogers a lot with my kids, and one of the wisest things that I heard him say, he said a lot of wise things, was when you're in an emergency, when you're scared and you don't know what to do, look for the helpers. Look for the people who are making it better and stick with them. And I want to ask you and invite you to use that common sense. Is look for the helpers. Look for the ones who are making a positive change and a positive example, and stick with them. Take mental health breaks. Encourage your friends to take mental health breaks. And learn how to live in that spiritual flow. And everything will be all right as we live in that spiritual flow as the Creator has meant it to be. What they mean by everything might be all right, not in our version of what all right is, but we will find peace. We will find a way. The law of cause and effect, I'm talking a little bit now of the metaphysical laws, the law of cause and effects is connected to the law of moral consequences. We don't have to take revenge on somebody who said bad things to us. We need to find our center and let the universe take care of that cause and effect. And we also need to duck because we don't want to be sucked into that cause and effect. We don't want the effect hitting us as the universe may see us as part of the cause. So get separated from it. And it's kind of like when you're driving, well, I was the oldest 9, I'm driving the car with my parents, and we're all smushed in before seatbelts told us how many people we could have in a back seat. So we were all smushed into the back seat of the car. And then the rest of us were smushed into the very back of the car. And there's always one kid that had the wiggles or was just in a bad mood and would whisper nasty stuff in somebody's ears and poke them and just make them miserable until the other kid turned around and clocked him. And then mom and dad would say, if I have to turn this, what he'd say, do I have to pull this car over? And if you ever pulled the car over, everyone got a spanking. But corporal punishment is real. And the kid who did the clocking got in trouble, not the kid who poked and prodded because they did it so quietly. And I didn't do anything. It's not my fault. And mom got smart about it, after a while. And so both of them got clocked. I mean, both of them got spanked. And what she was trying to show us is that we're in relationship to this problem. You hit them. Why didn't you ignore them? Well, sometimes you can't ignore them because they're pinching you too hard. And you say, ow. So maybe we need to say ow and no before we need to clock somebody. It's a very simplified way of looking at it, but it's our responsibility of how we react and what we do with the things that hurt us, especially, the words that hurt us. We sometimes need to remove ourselves. And you know what? I can't move out of America. I suppose I could, but I am here. I have to deal with this. We all have to deal with it. Those of us who are not going to Canada or the foreign countries or Italy. Ireland sounds good. I love Scotland. But for those of us who are staying here, we have to line up our choices. There is the law of balance, universal metaphysical law, which comes into the law of balance, comes into the law of justice, law of karma, karma is cause and effect, and the law of life, how life flows through us. And then there's the law of freedom and choices and reclaiming our choices. So the law of life, going into that flow of life, into that what I just described, from your heart to your spirit to your soul to divine source. What's there? What can support me? What new thoughts can I have because I'm connecting to that? And the law of life brings us choices and shows. And if I feel like when we're in relationship to soul, to life, meaning the higher power life, we can see more choices. We can see more pathways out of a difficult situation, out of the words. We can see that we don't have to interact with those words. So we are blessed and we are cursed with free will because we can also choose to not be connected to that flow of life and just get annoyed as all get out and do things like that we can't come back from and give ourselves ulcers. And like I had a bout of insomnia for a week because I was a little too involved with some of this stuff. Discover with spirit the unlimited choices you have in your life is the key to this problem of hatred wanting to suck us right in. we have the freedom to make our own choices, even though they could be right or they could be wrong. We could miss the mark, but we could always come back and figure it out again. But if you combine this law of freedom with the law of compassion, then we are moving forward. Then we're growing and developing as human beings, and we're dreaming a new dream for the rest of humanity. Law of cycles is another one that I like to think about. This too shall pass. And if we don't feed into it, if we become detached with compassion, helping others to get through this, then this cycle will end. I'm telling you, this cycle will end. I've seen horrible cycles come up and I've seen them all end. And I want to point out to you guys who lived through COVID, it didn't come to an end. I mean, we were still struggling with COVID on and off, but the pandemic idea is gone. We're past it. And then coming in with the law of detachment, or the law of detached compassion, is the law of allowing. Let them do their crazy stuff. I'm not participating in it. And they'll eventually find their own way. Let them. But along with that comes the responsibility of what action are you going to take if you're not in a place where you're safe or you're healthy. What are the best actions for you to take? When you're wrestling with a deep truth, well, bullets caught are visible. You can see the damage they do. Physical harm and breaking windows, breaking bones, killing people. Words wound in a way that are invisible, but they're just as lasting. They can destroy your life. They can change your life. They can change your thinking into a really, maybe not a healthy way of thinking. The challenge is that society clearly criminalizes violence with weapons, but the harm caused by words, although it's real, it's harder to measure, to regulate, or to balance. And so it's up to us to figure it out. Why it feels unbalanced. Words shape our identity. We understand through words. We understand: do we belong or do we have self-worth? A single cruel a single cruel phase too, can echo in our minds forever, and influencing us as how we see ourselves. Or I'm never going to talk to that person again. I'm never going to go that. I'm never going to try that thing again. It's just X'd out for me. And unlike physical violence, verbal harm doesn't always leave the evidence that we could see, which makes it easier for people to dismiss or minimize. It didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter that I gossiped about him and now he's not welcome in any of the circles and he didn't do a darn thing to deserve that. We're seeing that happen with public figures. I don't enjoy seeing public figures suffer, but sometimes it teaches us when we watch something ridiculous happen with a public figure, and then we say, okay, that's where that thought process is taking us. I don't want to go there anymore. So bullets have external accountability, why it feels out of balance, and laws, enforcement, and consequences are clear. Like I said in my divorce, words have internal impact, and they can destroy confidence, relationships, reputations, but responsibility is less clear and often left to personal resilience or community, or maybe changing some community norms. We've had a lot of action, Black Lives Matter, Me Too movements that have helped the community shift the use of words and the use of actions to be more respectful. That's 100% on that one, but I feel that we can take those lessons to deep down into simpler levels. Say, what am I doing? What have I said to somebody? How have I influenced them positively or negatively? And how many times have you excused yourself or have seen somebody else excuse themselves after they did something brutal, said a brutal word? You've left a bruise, okay, you can file a complaint. But if you leave a broken heart, like my lawyer said, it's nothing illegal about that. You have to remove yourself from the situation. The lack of recourse for some of these words, these hate words, can feel very dangerous, and you can feel very helpless. And because the person is left to carry it privately, it can fester and it can turn into violence. That out of balance thing is not a good place to be. And if we are out of balance ourselves, or we're noticing somebody close to us, or somebody we happen to notice is getting more and more out of balance, bring some awareness to it. Finding balance is about bringing awareness, personal awareness to yourself, and seeing what really is happening. Recognizing the weight of the language and choosing words with care is the first step towards balance. And as we recognize our own words and how we're using them, especially how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to other people, we then sensitize ourselves to hearing words and observing how those words are affecting other people, and we recognize it more quickly instead of dismissing it. Oh, that was nothing. That didn't matter. Well, yes, it did matter. A lot of children that, as adults, speak up the trauma that they have inside. A lot of it's from words. Words, mom said this, or dad said this, or I was in school and they all made fun of me, and and then they're talking about, and they're 60 years old. So observe words. And then another step in this is boundaries, setting clear limits with people who use harmful words, and reclaim your power, whether they're talking about you or somebody else. Set clear limits. Would you want to be treated like that, the way they're talking about somebody else? Say, I don't, and I'm going to give you some templates to use. Social accountability is another way to find balance. Communities can reinforce that verbal cruelty isn't just words. Naming harm and stand up for others makes a difference, like the Me Too movement or Black Lives Matter or whatever positive movement that says we are not going to have this thought process, we need a new one. And then healing tools. Use your find healing tools, talk to somebody. If you need to therapize it, be with a therapist, be with a therapist. If you need to talk to a mentor, I'm available for that. If journal is a great way to observe and become aware of what's really bugging you, and how do you really feel about what happened. And reframing a situation can help lessen the long-term damage that words leave. Reframing is not taking it personally and just say, well, that person is really insecure, or I don't have to say yes to that person. I don't have to hang on. You know what? I just learned that this person is such and such, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Look at what I learned and look at the power that I've taken back. So reframe. So lots of ways to reframe. I just named a couple of basic ones. And make an important distinction about what's happening around you. For instance, words and bullets aren't equal in kind. One causes physical mortality and the other one is emotional and social wounds. Both can destroy. One is the body and it's permanent, and the other one is the spirit. The balance may lie in treating language as something we are ethically responsible for, even if it isn't regulated in the same way. However, once you're dead, you're dead. You're not going to heal from it. You're not going to come back from it. I mean, yes, the spirit, and I talk to mediumship, talk to spirit all the time, but the growth and the learning is much different on the higher side. So how about this? Somebody says something and it's horrifying. How are you going to reframe it? How are you going to deal with it? What are you going to do with it? Where's your comeback? Where's your healing? Where's your personal power and your personal responsibility? And that's what we can do with words. But once we're shot and dead, or once we've killed somebody else, there's no more reframing. There's no more finding boundaries or finding balance. Do you see what I mean? One is a little more permanent than the other. So it's easy to fall into the violence of the verbal and compare it to the violence of the physical and think that they're the same thing. They're not the same thing. Really want to say that more and more. And if you need to say that to somebody, please do. Words can be shifted, but physical violence that leads to death cannot be shifted. So practical strategies for protecting yourself from harmful words. Let's talk about that a little bit. And by the way, I want to remind you, I'm Nancy of Angelscapes, and you can find me at angelscapes.net. I offer mentorships, I offer readings, I offer all kinds of structures to help you reframe your spirit and your soul in difficult situations, and I'm available. So please reach out to me. And I have a number on these podcasts. If you look through my other podcasts, a number of wise people that I've interviewed and that have really good thoughts and ideas that may help you too. So they're on YouTube. There, you can find them through my website, angelscapes.net. You can also schedule a reading with me. And if you want to know how else I can help you, you can schedule, it's not a reading, but a discovery session, and I can talk about what I offer in my services and see how we could work together, but it's not a reading. So when you go on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like so that other people can find this work and what I do, and maybe it'll help them too. So practical strategies for protecting yourself from harmful words. Unlike bullets, there are no laws that can shield you completely from cruel speech, but you can build an inner armor and external support systems. Emotional boundaries, which is the law of detachment, being in, not of the world, or being in the situation, but not of it, not part of it. I'm not doing your dance. I'm hearing you, but I'm not doing your dance. And seeing things through the eyes of God is a great way to help you create emotional boundary. Think of boundaries as your verbal bulletproof vest. Decide what kind of comments you will not absorb. For instance, insults about your worth, identity, your values, insults about somebody else's value or worth, or just plain old hate, angry stuff. I'm not going to stick with that. I don't want to absorb that, and you can choose not to absorb it too. And then practice mental detachment techniques like, that's about them, not me. Or this is one person's opinion. It is not my truth. They may have a lot of reasons why this is true, but if it's not your truth, it's not your truth. And that is a wonderful way to do an emotional boundary. Another thing to do is limit your exposure. Just as you would avoid dangerous places physically, you can reduce contact with harmful spaces like online or certain people or certain groups. And you can say where toxic stuff thrives. You could say, not this, no more. And sometimes even in work, there can be a lot of toxicity. And you got to go to work. You need your paycheck. But there are tactics that you can use at the workplace. And if there's a lot of hate stuff and people are being rejected or not accepted, HR might be a nice place to help you out there with some strategies. So do check out HR. They're getting stronger and stronger. HR people are, if it's a really good company that has a really strong HR, they can't really change the corporate environment or the work environment, but they are trained in helping you come up with strategies. And curate your social media feed. I like to figure out those algorithms, but whatever those algorithms, they keep changing on Facebook or wherever. But if you keep liking the things that are good for you and watching them, those will show up. But if you keep looking at the awful things and the hate speeches, those things will show up. That's exactly cause and effect. That's the social media showing you how cause and effect works. It's an algorithm. So curate what you're watching, mute and block repeated offenders. I'm in the process of having to look at some of my own people and know if I need to block them, because the messages I want to bring out may be difficult for some people to hear, or maybe people just want to have me in on their side, whether it's full of hate or why I don't even get what they're talking about, and they're angry that I'm not. Because I'm a public figure, I do try to get out here once a week or twice a month or something. And if what I'm hearing from them is making me too scared to say something, I will block them or I'll move away, because I don't want to lose my words. I don't want to lose how I'm helping people. And many people have told me that these podcasts are helping them get through stuff. And avoid arguments where the goal is destruction, not dialogue. There's a lot of people who want to talk about how angry they are, and it's not productive. And so we need to reframe that. So counter speech and reframing. Words can be met with words. A calm but firm response, that is not acceptable. I don't see myself the way you describe. I'm not going there with you. Reframe attacks into reminders of your value. Their cruelty to yourself, you could say this to yourself: their cruelty shows me why kindness matters. And it's a great reminder when somebody hurts your feeling. Kindness matters, thoughtfulness matters. And let's talk about building support networks. I'm one person talking to you, so I don't know. I'm a bit of a support network, I hope, but it's one way. I'm just talking to you. And surround yourself with voices that affirm and uplift. Friends, mentors, communities, therapy can act like it's almost legal protection. It can be your word bulletproof vest for the soul, providing validation and counteracting some of the damage that is done. Inner practices are so important. One of my friends, who's a minister of a beautiful church, says you need to meditate 15 minutes every day. I wish I could say I was successful, but some days if I miss one day, I'll do it twice the next day. But also stopping to take a breath when you're in the middle of something. Do I need to be here? What is the most important thing I need to know about this situation? Am I safe here? I feel like I'm not safe. And so look around and discern where you are and what's going on. Mindfulness helps you notice when words are hurting before they spiral into internalized harm. This is the key here. Your self-talk or somebody else's talk to you, notice it. And when you're hurting yourself or somebody's hurting you, okay, that hurt me. That's not right for me. Boom, out. Journaling can help create space to process what was said and separate facts from wound. So it could get you into a situation where you say, this is, it's like pulling away, bullets kill, words, blah, blah, that you're pulling the situation apart and identifying what's yours, what's not yours. And I'm going down this rabbit hole. I need to recognize that I'm going down this rabbit hole. And journaling makes you write it down. And you see what you've written down, and then you can go back a couple days later and read it and go, oh, really, I was going down a rabbit hole. Or I wasn't thinking quite clearly about that because I was upset. But now that I'm looking at it, yes, there are, again, quiet heart, calm heart, more choices, more answers, more understanding, more awareness. So journaling can help you do that. Affirmations, sounds cliche, but they rebuild the inner voice that harsh words try to erode. And you know what affirmations do? I've been discovering this over the years, is they calm my body down. I can get so racked up in my gut and just goes nuts, or my back of my neck goes out, or I get a headache. My body's going, oh my God, I'm in fight or flight, and you're not doing anything about it. And affirmations take your body and your mind out of flight or fight and helps you to calm down. And when we're calm, we come up with more solutions and we have more awareness and we can do more creative things with what we have around us, or walk away really fast. But affirmations, everything's going to be all right. I see what's going on. I'm still breathing. I'm still standing. Whatever affirmations you need in the moment. I'm a good person. I may not be thinking clearly now, but I'm going to work this through in the best way possible. And, whatever affirmations you want to, maybe just in my phone, I have a notepad and I just write down affirmations and I just go through the notepad and I just read those affirmations and I feel my body relax. It's the key here. You want to relax your body. So I'm going to go back a little bit to politics. I'm not taking anybody's side, but I want to talk about the dynamics of what some things are said. Some political commentators can use sharp, polarizing languages. A lot of us like to go and listen to what's being said on the Senate floor, for instance, or a lot of us go to political rallies, or some of us just like to see what other people who think they're politically important are saying, and they can use polarizing languages that cause more division or cause this is the left side, this is the right side kind of thing. And sometimes when you're a very good commentator, you can be very persuasive and you can inspire loyalty in your followers. Think of Jim Jones, and everyone broke who was the one who had the Kool-Aid? Was that Jim Jones? And then there was another one who convinced his followers that this star was coming, or this comet was coming, was really a starship. It's going to pick everyone up. So they all committed suicide. So they can be very inspire loyalty and really convince people. They're very convincing, but they're causing you to have an own division about your own self and your own well-being. So you want to be careful on that loyalty thing. But if something is causing, if words and really good ideas are causing deep division within yourself or with yourself and the people that you love, it's not good. So also, if somebody's talking about causing deep division as by framing opponents as threats or enemies, they're off the beam. That's not good for you. Yes, there are people that disagree with you, and there are people that are having lifestyles that you would never have in your whole life, but they're not the enemy. They're just people. And if somebody's causing you to, if you're loyal to me and believe in me, you'll hate those people. They're bad people. I mean, well, I shouldn't have said it. They're bad people. They're not the right person for you. They're not growing and learning. There's no spiritual good stuff there. For someone vulnerable or already carrying anger or despair or alienation from the rest of humanity, such words can act like accelerants on dry brush fire. It could they don't cause the speaker doesn't cause the violence alone, but they amplify the hopelessness, they amplify the rage, and they can be the match that sets the dry grass on fire. But it's up to that other person not to have that dry grass to begin with. So the despair, let's talk about coming from the point of view from despair. When somebody is in deep despair, they may seek meaning, they want to belong somewhere, or they need an outlet for their anger. If they encounter rhetoric that validates their pain, but channels it into hostility, the despair can harden into dangerous resolve. We see that we have seen that throughout the decades. This is nothing new. Tragedy often results when the internal wound of despair meets the external spark of divisive words. This is why our talk needs to be careful. We need to be very careful with our talk. And I really feel strongly, and you could choose how you want to handle this, to say no to those divisive words, to say, this isn't what I want in my life. This is not acceptable. This is toxic. And we'll go through some templates in just almost 2 minutes. So the balance that we need to find, because we're in a funny community, we have funny rules in our American society. Free speech is protected under law, but its impact can be socially destructive. The despair of somebody stepping into violence is not excusable. They're responsible for their own actions, but it is understandable as a human cry for meaning, for help, something that went unanswered that became distorted. We need to have compassion, I feel. You go to jail and you can't do this anymore, and you're a danger to society. You've gone off the rock. You've gone off your rocker. However, compassion for that person. Where was the pain? Where was the distortion, the call of help that went unanswered? And the balance lies in acknowledging two truths at once. Public figures should wield words responsibly, and as a society, maybe we need to hold them responsible, and they need to be aware of their potential to inflame. And I'm hoping that none of my words is inflaming anybody. I'm hoping that my words are empowering you to take another look at this despair you might be feeling. Individuals must find healthier ways to face despair, supported by community. That's us, community. If we're the despair person, I hope we have community around you to help you. If you're a community, you see somebody who's despairing, find some words. I see you. I see you when I see your pain, and what can I do to help? How can I inspire you to back off of this despair so that their pain doesn't fester into violence? We're not as a community, we can't be 100% responsible for somebody's decision on whether to pull the trigger or not. That's pun. But we can choose to see each other and respond to each other and care about each other. So kind of bringing it together, bullets kill bodies and words can corrode souls. Both need shields. Your shield, your boundaries, your resilience, your practices, your supportive allies, and reframing destructive language can be a beautiful, are all important, beautiful shields. A society shield is holding leaders accountable. Needs to be said more than once for the ethical use of words and ensuring mental health support so despair doesn't metastasize into violence. So we are responsible as a community, as a society, to speak up when there are these words that are there. You think of, go back into the Ku Klux Klan. I saw a little bit about that when I was growing up. But the words, there's that musical South Pacific, kind of around World War II, that there's a song that says they have to be taught, talking about children and racism. They have to be prejudiced. They have to be carefully taught from the time that they were little, and change what we're teaching our children. Oh golly, I think I've just said so much. I want to kind of go through. I had a lot of notes I'm looking at here, but practical steps. Calm rebuttal template, short and firm. You can use or adapt certain templates or certain patterns of speech to kind of combat when somebody's coming at you. Like, for instance, I hear your frustration, but language that dehumanizes or demonizes others isn't productive. It spreads anger instead of solving problems. I'd rather focus on facts and respectful dialogue, and that's how we actually move forward. A softer version could be, I understand you're feeling strongly. I don't agree with the language that attacks people. It makes things worse, not better. Let's talk about solutions instead of insults. So the key element here is to acknowledge the emotion. I hear your frustration, and draw a boundary. I don't agree with dehumanizing language. A couple other thoughts are, I hear your perspective, but demeaning others doesn't solve problems. I hear your perspective, but telling me things that are not quite accurate isn't going to make it for me. I'm not going to, let's focus on facts and disrespectful dialogues instead of insults. And alternative phrasing, again, here's another idea. I don't agree with attacking people. It doesn't move us forward. Respectful conversation does. So again, we're acknowledging emotion and perspective of the other person very briefly. We're drawing a clear line against toxic or dehumanizing rhetoric, because if we participate in dehumanizing someone else, we're also dehumanizing ourselves. And you know that, those of you who work with energy, what you say and what you do comes right back at you. And again, you got to duck. You don't want to be part of this karma, and redirect towards constructive conversation. Now, if that person that you're working with is actually redirected towards something positive, yay, you've made a huge possible impact in that person's life, and you've invited that person into a constructive space where we can come up with solutions and facts. And if you can really help that transition happen, you're ascending instead of descending with the person, and that's going to change. That's the work that needs to happen to change humanity and the thought process. And I also want you, I'm encouraging all of you to be aware of crisis hotlines and de-radicalization resources. They're US based. And I'm going to tell you what they are, but you can also look them up. 988 is a suicide and crisis lifeline. Dial 988 anytime for immediate help if someone is in despair or thinking of harming themselves or others. There's somebody there that's going to listen to you. Then there's a crisis text line. You text hello to 741 741. I'm going to say that again. 741 741 is a line that you could text to where you say hello, and it will connect you to a trained crisis counselor who will text with you. And there's another resource. It's called Life After Hate, lifeafterhate.org. It's a U.S., I hope it's still there. It's a U.S. nonprofit supporting people leaving violent extremist groups. Also offers a helpline for families worried about loved ones. And that is lifeafterhate.org. And they'll have resources on their site. And Parents for Peace helpline specializes in radicalization concerns, and it has confidential support for family members. And that is 1-844-49-PEACE. Parents for Peace Helpline, again, is 844-49-PEACE. And use them. This is for inside of the US. Use them. And you can also Google crisis hotlines or de-radicalization resources, and you'll get these resources at your fingertips. And sometimes the only thing that we can do is make a phone call or speak up or say these comments, say, I get what you're feeling. I'm not going there with you. I'd rather come up with better solutions. I'd rather have a more positive conversation. And sometimes that can do the trick of turning someone around. If it doesn't do the trick for turning someone around, then you need to leave. There's nothing you can do about that situation. And if you do that, take those positive actions, you're going to change the world. You change the demographics of the people around you. You're important, and what you say and how you handle things matters. If you can't handle it in the moment, that's perfectly fine. Say a prayer and dream that beautiful dream, that this could be better, or make that phone call, or say that templated response. I am hearing your pain. I'm hearing your frustration. I can't participate with it. With that, let's talk about this instead, or I have to leave. And these are big things that I'm saying. These are big times. Speaking as kind of a psychic intuitive medium, these times aren't going to shift they're going to continue to get a little bit worse. And we have months of this, if not years of this. I'm hoping it's not going to be, but we're coming to it. The energy, the negative hatred energy has been building to a crescendo. It's coming stronger and stronger and stronger. And I love you guys, and I want you to be okay in all this. And I want you to have tools and abilities and skills to survive this and not be part of it. And cause and effect, what I want coming your way is something beautiful, not something yucky or harmful or hurtful or something that you can't come back from. So I wish you all the best. I give you lots of love, lots of prayers going out to you guys. I'm available for positive conversations, and be at peace, be safe, stand in love, and do not leave that love.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.